Hi. Morning, everybody. Welcome. Answered by guest week 14. This is it. Late start. Wasn't sure I'd even be able to get in, but I'm in. And let's see if you join. I'm just loading up. I mean, we got like I don't know, 4 slideshow getting ready to go. But I figured I'd hop on, answered most of the questions. I went out to a breakfast with Santa pancake breakfast this morning. Delish. So I'm full. I'm ready to go lay on the couch and do nothing. But if anybody comes, if anybody has any questions, if people on YouTube or Twitch pop in, then we can answer them. And if not, then we'll be off quickly. And hopefully everybody got a win last week. Or if they lost, they're still alive this week as things go. This is it pretty much for the regular season. Not sure if your league plays in week 18. I do not play in any leagues that play in week 18. So playoffs start next week, and we got 3 weeks left of Answers by Guest season 9. We're the inside scoop from outside the box. I always say we. It's just me. Rob's busy. Marty's got to be busy. I'm busy too, but I figured I'd hop on and see if anybody ain't live questions. So here's the games that we got. Hopefully you can see that quick. Cowboys Lions, good game. I thought the Cowboys would have won this if we would have had time for a Tuesday show. I probably would have said that. The Lions held their ground at home, and I mean, at one point at least, it was a little bit closer than that. No CD with him going down. That could hurt if you're still alive in the playoffs. But that's in the past. Let's move forward. Titans-Browns, first game on the matchup. Just answered a question for Gregorio, I believe, Dan, in the Facebook group. And Judkins was one of his, I guess, final flex plays. I like him in this one. The Browns at home, their defense typically plays better. This is your number one overall pick quarterback versus not your last quarterback drafted, but the one that it felt like he was the last, Shedeur. I like what Shedeur has been doing. He's going to have to grow, but we'll see. So Fannin sort of looks like he's starting to take over a little bit for Njoku. So if you've been rolling with Njoku, it's a decent matchup. I know a lot of people are jumping on the Tennessee defense. To me, I got to have a pretty good offense to roll with the defense unless they are, superb, the best, like Houston. Their offense should be better. It's not. But the Titans offense just is not good enough for me to call this defense a slam dunk in this game against the Browns. The Browns defense at home typically plays better. I think that they will control this one. That's why I like Judkins in this matchup. Watch out for your Njoku. And Tony Pollard has fallen off a cliff. So hopefully you're not looking at starting him. The Browns are pretty good against the run. Their pass funnel, will Cam Ward be able to do enough? We shall see. Seahawks, Falcons. This game's one of the reasons that I wanted to come on. One of the reasons I hoped that Rob would be able to join me. And unfortunately, he can't. He had a couple things happen at his house last night that is not allowing him. So this game, Seahawks, Falcons. So Jeremy, good morning. I know that he knows because he's been around. But Rashid Shaheed is somebody who I typically do not recommend, but in this matchup, I like him quite a bit. AJ Terrell won't be able to handle Jackson Smith and Jigba, but he'll be tasked with doing the best that he can, at least when he's, assigned that coverage duty based on where JSN is. That's going to have to open up some other things. Now, the reason I like Shaheed a lot is if you're dying for a wide receiver 2 or a 3 because you got guys on bye or injuries or a flex spot. I like him, and I never like him, but I like him because Rashid Shaheed knows the Falcons, played against the Falcons. at minimum 2 times every single year over his entire career playing for the Saints. And if you look back at his game log, his career against them, he typically has some success. The Seahawks traded for Shaheed, um, and much has been made about nothing has come of it. And they understand that, and they're looking for ways to get him involved. And I think this is a game where, in a vacuum, here we are against the Falcons. I think the Falcons at home, their defense is good enough to do some things with Darnold. Their offense is good enough to do some things against this defense at home, even with Kirk Cousins, that I think the Seahawks will have to stay active. Last week's game, they sort of got to take the foot off the gas. That's why JSN had such a down game, shutting out Minnesota, right? So I think that Rashid Shaheed is going to splash in this one. One of his patented deep downfield balls, maybe a couple other catches, hopefully a touchdown. I'm using him myself. Jeremy, like I said, has been around a while. If you've been around a while, you know that I typically would never recommend Rashid Shaheed, but I think the matchup and the situation in this vacuum is just perfect for Shaheed. He knows the defense. Much has been made about him not doing anything since he came over in the trade. There's still no Torrey Horton. Cooper Kupp is a shell of himself. And I think the Seahawks are going to lean on him a little bit extra, more than they typically would. Colts, Jaguars, and there's other players in that game. If you got a question about it, I'm just trying to go through this quickly. Hoping to be done by noon. That gives me 19 minutes or less. Colts, Jaguars. We've seen, Indiana Jones become Daniel Dimes, but he's still getting the job done. The one player I like in this game, who the past couple of weeks I was sort of a little bit down on, is Michael Pittman. I really like Michael Pittman in this matchup going against the Jaguars. I know Pierce has been doing it, and if you're rolling with Pierce, go ahead. I've been hesitant to recommend him. Last week, I was just like, you know what? He keeps doing it. Go ahead. And somebody else asked a question this week. I'm like, he's hot. Ride him. But Pittman is somebody who really hasn't been. It seems like if he gets anything, he gets one catch for a touchdown and comes through relative for your lineup, as good as you could possibly hope for as a floor. But I like him in this one to do pretty good. I like Daniel Jones to really rely on him. I think the Jags are their secondary is okay. They'll continue to focus on stopping Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, you play him, you play Warren. Myers has been hot. BTJ, I don't think, is a safe person to start at this moment in time. And I also like ETN in this one. ETN had a down game last week. Seemed like whenever they got close, they were giving the ball to Tootin. But ETN's been killing it. 3 out of the last 4 or 4 out of the last 5 weeks. And I like him to get back on track in this one. So if you're wondering about ETN, I like ETN. So my big plays that you're probably wondering about a little bit in this one is Pittman, and I like ETN. And if you're just joining us, I'm going to say it one last time. I like Rashid Shaheed in that game against the Falcons. He knows that defense. Down to Commanders and Vikings. Listen, this one, another reason I wanted to come on, because I wanted to say this, and I sort of said it. Unless that concussion knocked some things into place for McCarthy, which could happen. To me, what they need to do is dumb down the offense, and it sounds like that's sort of what they did. They need to make it a little bit less complex, so I think that you see the running backs more often. And by running backs, I mean Aaron Jones, who's really banged up, and Jordan Mason. One thing I've been going through is, do I play Jordan Mason or do I play Chris Rodriguez for the Commanders? I think Jaden Daniels coming back will help the run game, and obviously help the passing game for the Commanders. I love Terry McLaurin in this matchup. I think he got like 15 targets or something last week, something insane where he was supposed to be pitch counted or whatnot. But it was Mariota looking for him. Daniels going to do the same exact thing. But the one thing I think with Daniels, I think that they will try to get him to run a little bit less. They wanted to do that in the offseason. Kind of, sort of, in the beginning, it looked like he was trying to do that. And then ended up sort of breaking out of being held back a little bit on the ground, got injured, it's been out. And I think that him being able and his accuracy, I think that the Vikings are going to have to focus. Smitty will get to you in a second, too. You too, Jeremy. I think that the Vikings defense is going to have to respect the pass just a little bit. Chris Rodriguez has been doing well against teams, well enough, 40, 50 yards, been getting a touchdown pretty much almost in every single game. He's their goal line guy. But teams have been sort of forcing Mariota to beat them. And I think that they have to take a step back, literally and figuratively, and respect Jaden Daniels' passing game. And I think that's going to open up things for the run game. So as of right now, 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have made the switch, and I'm playing Rodriguez over Mason. I don't love it, but I'm going with it. The only upside Mason will have is if Aaron Jones gets re-injured in game, or if he's at all limited, or if I miss that he is out because I signed on live when the outs came out, which I don't think is going to happen. But if you have to consider or are forced to sort of play a Jordan Mason, I think that he could be okay. You just have to be okay with Aaron Jones playing the whole game and Mason getting 10 touches or less, which is a very high possibility. They also have Xander Smith in there messing things up too. For the Commanders, I like McLaurin. I like Rodriguez. Continue with Ertz if you have to. Jaden Daniels coming back is going to help both the passing and the rush game. I really like Rodriguez over Mason, though, because I feel like if they get close, Jaden Daniels is not going to be sneaking any balls in. He's not going to be running inside the 5 and taking a big hit, hopefully. And they'll give that ball to Rodriguez, as they've been doing even with Mariota. And now because you have the possibility, and Mariota had legs too, so they had to respect that, but he's not Jaden Daniels, not at this point in his career. Bengals, Bills. Bills are going to be an absolute slam dunk in this. The Bengals typically play them well, but I'm talking from a fantasy perspective. The Bengals defense played great last week. They got a nice big uplift from Burrow coming back. It looks like Higgins was going to play last I saw. I like every single position guy in this one. I also like Dalton Kincaid coming back. I think that's really going to lift the Bills. But Cook and Allen, who you're playing anyways, are absolutely good to go. They had talked about a little bit weather in that one, but I'm not too concerned with it. So your Bengals and your Bills, you get them in your lineup. I'll switch over to this, and I'll throw this up on the screen real quick. Drop. I'm imagining this. Adonai grab Shaheed and play in the flex over Higgins. I haven't gotten to Higgins yet. Haven't gotten to the Houston game. That'll be obviously on the last slide, as it is a Sunday night game. But I would play Shaheed over Mitchell. I'm not looking at last week's Mitchell game as anything more than I feel like we got a little lucky if you played him. He's just drops too many balls for me, runs bad routes. There's a reason the Colts were so quick to get rid of him. Taylor definitely helped Mitchell. He definitely played a little more accurate as far as passing the ball than Justin Fields had. And I had been adamant about, I don't see what the problem is with Justin Fields. I do still think he's a better football player. Tyrod Taylor checks out of games sometimes, and he seems like he always gets hurt. And I might as well talk about this game now since we're talking about it. The Dolphins defense has been playing pretty great over these past 5 weeks against the run, against the pass, against really good teams as well as bad teams. I like the Dolphins defense in this one. The only thing that really worries me is that it's division, but weird things happen on offense as well as defense. So you might get a defensive touchdown from the Dolphins. They seem to be getting a lot of fumbles and interceptions and defensive touchdowns over these past few weeks. They're flying around. They won 3-4 games in a row, beat up on some good teams, beat up on some bad teams. And I think the Jets are a bad team. And I think last week the game with Taylor and the game with Mitchell, I think, was a happenstance type of thing. I had no interest in playing him. I would play Shaheed over Mitchell. Now, Higgins is another story. The only thing going for Higgins is it's Sunday night, and the Chiefs are a really good defense, but they have to worry about Nico Collins. CJ Stroud, he really was not as bad as the stat line was last week. They ended up getting rushing touchdowns. Nico Collins even had a rushing touchdown. I mean, one or two of their 3 touchdowns last week, CJ Stroud throws them. People are looking to play Stroud in this game, but instead, too many stat watchers, too many box score readers look at it and be like, I can't play him. I like him in this one. I think that this game winds up being a little more back and forth with 2 really good defenses, including the best in the game, and that's Houston. But I think with the backs against the wall, Kansas City's going to try and pull some things out. So I like Higgins. Shaheed is more of a Hail Mary. So, Jeremy, my answer to you is simply this. If you're looking at your matchup and you need a floor guy, you play Higgins. But if you think you need a home run guy, you put Shaheed in, because I think that's what he could get us today against the Falcons. Let's go back up here. Let's look at the Saints and the Bucks. Still like shuck. For the Saints, I told you about last week with Devin Neal, but now I'm going back to saying, okay, this is pretty good, because the Bucks against the run, surprisingly, have not been very good. So I don't mind him so much in this one. Olave, go ahead. Now, another player, and this guy was a 5 guy for your eye last year. He was a 5 guy for your eye this year, about 5 or 6 weeks ago, if not sooner. Devon Vele, and everybody went and picked him up. And you picked him up because he had a big game last week. But let's think about this. The big game last week, the coverage, Olave was going in with back spasms, was still a little hurting. He only had the 1 catch for the touchdown. I think maybe he had another 1 or 2. But I'm pretty sure that was really all that there was. Olave practiced in full this week. He's good to go. So there's not going to have to be a need to force the ball to Devon Vele. And I'm not taking anything away from him, because obviously, like I said, 2024, I said this is a guy that you should keep your eye on when he was playing for the Broncos. Then he got hurt. This year, the Broncos traded him, and I said early on, I said they need a number 2. This is their number 2. They need to start playing him more. It took getting rid of Shaheed for him to get on the field. I like him, but I don't expect anything close to what you got last week. I think the Bucks get back on track. I know they won last week, but offensively back on track. I'm not sure if McMillan's playing. I think he's out. I know Evans is out. Otten has been worthless. I don't know what's up with him. Ever since he came back, he's just been running around. He just runs like one of those stone men in the cartoons, or Lord of the Rings, if there even was one of those ogres, like real slow and just doesn't look good. So I'm not putting him anywhere near my lineup. But Godwin was getting some targets. He did a little better, I think, 2 weeks ago than last week. Egbuka has fallen off a cliff. I think that they really, try and stick on the ground here and win this game with their defense. You got to throw Bucky Irving out there. Sean Tucker is worthless. Steelers, Ravens, you got 2 offenses that have looked absolutely terrible. And to me, this turns into one of those patented games that we get where the Steelers offense, everybody thinks it's broken. The Ravens offense, what's up with them? They can't do anything. I think this one becomes a high-scoring game. I think both defenses step up. I think both offensive step up. It's for first place in the division. The loser of this game will get knocked down considerably in the playoff standings. But I think that for Steelers, I think I'm fine with a Metcalf in this one. They added in Thielen. They added in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's just going to be extra guys to throw in to take a little bit off because Calvin Austin ain't doing nothing. Roman Wilson comes and goes like the wind. They got 3 tight ends. I kind of like Freiermuth today for some reason. His familiarity with beating the Ravens, I feel like that's a sneaky play, but I like Jaylen Warren in this one. And I know not everybody uses them anymore, but kickers. Boswell's been terrible the last couple weeks. You go back and you look at his career against the Ravens, he typically has a lot of field goals. I think the Steelers made a point. This is one of those games. The Steelers made a point this week to do some things to fix their offense. The Ravens are going to do the same exact sort of thing. Both of their defenses are kind of playing better as is. So I think this week of practice really went into the offenses. I think both teams move the ball better, kick a lot of field goals, score a lot of touchdowns. I think that game, if you're looking at an over-under, I don't know what it is. I'm going to guess it's 41.5. I'm going to look right now. If I had to guess, I'm going to say 41.5. Let me just see. Can't even read anything. Where is this game? 43.5. All right. I like it. I think this game goes over. I think both offenses would be all right. I think if you're forced to start a Steeler who has been underperforming, and the same with the Ravens, I think it'll be okay. I talked about Jets, Dolphins. Let's go to Broncos, Raiders. This is another one. Broncos have been flirting with disaster. They've been winning close games, pulling them out at the end. The Raiders have looked absolutely terrible. This game, I would not be surprised if the Raiders won in an ugly, low-scoring game. I think the Broncos go into this one thinking they're going to win, thinking it's going to be easy. The Raiders are terrible, and I think they get punched in the mouth early. I think it sort of goes back and forth a little bit as far as field position, maybe a field goal here or there. I really like Pat Bryant and his ascension. I mentioned him probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago. And obviously Troy Franklin, who comes and goes like the wind as well, and Cortland Sutton. But I think that the game plan for the Broncos is to really ride it on the ground. The matchup is superb for Pat Bryant in this one. The slot guy over the middle. The Raiders absolutely stink. But the Broncos really have no tight end to write home about. I mean, Evan Ingram, there's got to be a better option out there. And the Raiders don't really have much outside of their tight end in Genty. I mean, say what you want, Trey Tucker, Tyler Lockett, they stink. And going against the Broncos defense is going to be tough. But for this, I just feel like this one's going to be ugly, slow, low scoring, or if it goes crazy and goes offensive high scoring, I'm wrong. That's fine. But for some reason, not for some reason, I don't think the Raiders are going to win because the Broncos just continue to escape. But I would not be surprised if they did. This one just sets up exactly like it did last week for me when I called that the Panthers were going to beat the Rams. It just feels the same, but even more possible of happening because it's a division game. And when it's a division game, you throw records out the window. So if I'm betting on anything, or any of you are, I'm not touching the Broncos in this one by any means, because this one could work out to be not in your favor. So I'm going to go up here to one more of these. Z Smitty wants to start one. Myers, Burden, or Jaden Reed. I'm not starting Jaden Reed in his first game back. And they just have so many options. I mean, I know the Wicks thing because of Wicks last week, and I accidentally by mistake picked him up in a league because I had so many waiver requests, and I think I had 13. And I forgot to shuffle things around, and I ended up picking up Wicks when I wanted to pick up Shaheed. I just didn't have them in the right order because I guess I'm an idiot for that. But I meant to, so I had to waste another move to pick Shaheed. The Wicks thing, it was great last week. I love them. You know, it's my favorite team. If you've been watching the show, which I know you have, Smitty. But I'm not playing him in his first game back. And I really like Myers. The Green Bay defense is amazing. I think I would take a shot with Burden though. I think he's been nipping at the heels. He had chances when Moore was out, and I think this is the one. I think that the Packers are going to make Caleb beat them. I think that I'll talk about this game now since we're on it. It's down there in the bottom right. I don't like Monangai in this one. Swift is a different type of back, but I think that the Packers have been so good against the run, and I think that they have so much confidence in their defense right now that they're going to do what they can to sell out to stop the run. They're going to make Caleb Williams beat them. And I think that's going to be good things for Burden. As far as Myers go, I really like ETN today. I do think that game will be maybe a little more high scoring than the Bears and the Packers, but I think I'm going to go with Burden. It's not Jaden Reed. So if your gut tells you Myers, go with Myers. I'm fine with it, but I think I would roll the dice with Burden. But Myers is your safest floor. But again, it comes down to, do you need a floor or do you need a home run ceiling? Because I think Burden today, if Caleb is able to beat the Packers, which lifelong fan, I mean, as good as their defense can ever be, doesn't matter. They will give up points when they shouldn't. So I'm going to go with Burden, but I think Myers is probably your safest bet. So we talked about Broncos Raiders. Let's go down to Rams Cardinals. Rams with a bounce back this week. But the Cardinals being at home, Brissett has not been bad. They have no weapons, though. They got Wilson and McBride. That's about it. No Dortch, no Harrison, no Benson back. Benson might not even end up coming back this year. I think they have till Tuesday or Wednesday to activate him to the active roster, or else he has to just stay on IR the rest of the year. So if you've been holding on to Benson, you better hope that they activate him before midweek, because otherwise he's a waste for this season. You can dump him, get him off the IR, put somebody else in there. The Rams, go ahead. I mean, Devontae Adams been doing it. He's doing what I said a few weeks ago. I'm like, pay attention to them. Anytime they get inside the 5, what do? They throw it to Adams. And since then, I feel like it's happened like 6 times. So keep going with that. The Kyren and Corum situation's interesting. If the Rams can get out in this one up ahead early, which the Cardinals defense is not terrible, but they're down so many offensive weapons. The Rams are pissed off about what happened last week against the Panthers. If the Rams can get out early, I think that we see more Corum in this game because they're positioned for a playoff run. And with Kyren being a little banged up, I think that's what we saw last week with them. Also, the Panthers were sort of stifling Kyren a little bit, so they threw Corum in there, and he had some success. So I think that the Kyren situation this week is tougher. You need this game to be closer. And while it could be, I think the Rams get their payback just a little bit in this one. Bears and Packers, I'm not touching any of the wide receivers. I talked about how I think this game's going to go. So the wide receivers for the Packers. I mean, it's just Dobbs should be the one, but Watson is playing and doing what Dobbs was doing early on. And Watson, so long as he stays healthy, which I hope he does as a Packer fan, is doing those things. Wicks is going to do Wicks things. You got Reed backs that are going to be trying to mix him in. Obviously, you're fine with Jacobs. So that game is one where I think that they're going to make Caleb Williams beat them. So I think if there's a play that you try and take advantage of, it's Burden and it's DJ Moore and Loveland. Last 2 games, so we'll get into some of these questions right here before we get to these 2. Chris says, need one. Pittman with the downpour weather. Egbuka, underwhelming. Myers in the rain. Christian Watson. I really like Pittman this week. Rain helps wide receivers. I'll say that to the day I die. Egbuka has been underwhelming. Plus, I think that that's a game that they can control on the ground. So I agree. Myers in the rain. He's about as good of a floor as you have in the entire NFL right now. And Watson, I was just talking about. I think I would take a chance with Pittman. I just have a really good feeling about him this week. I think if you want a safe floor, again, Myers is that guy. Ever since he joined the team when he knew 30% of the playbook, he has been baseline. I'm getting you 8 to 10 points or more. So if you need that, looking at your matchup, that's a fine play. But then you go ahead and you say, I'm not excited about Indiana Jones with his fibula and in the rain, so I'm leaning Daniels. Well, then you probably don't like Pittman much either. So if you're going to go with Jaden Daniels, I think he'll be fine. I don't think you'll get much on the ground with him, as I mentioned about. But I really love Terry McLaurin today. So you have to go with your gut. Your gut says play Daniels. And because you don't like Indiana Jones, you might as well go with Myers too, because you play it safe, and that's fine. Jeremy says Shaheed over Dobbs. It's a home run ball. It's a boomer bust. It's why I never recommend Shaheed. I just have a good feeling about Shaheed today because he knows the matchup. AJ Terrell will do his best on JSN, and much has been made about they are not passing the ball to Shaheed. I just think in a vacuum, it's a perfect spot to play Shaheed. 3 things lining up in his favor. Media clamoring about you're not using Shaheed enough. Shaheed knows the Falcons defense. AJ Terrell is going to be doing what he can on JSN. I like Shaheed. He's one of 2 options in my mind in the passing game. Say whatever you want about my man, AJ Barner, or even Elijah Arroyo, the tight ends for the Seahawks. He is the second guy. Cooper Kupp does not exist. I like him today. If it were me, I would do it. But again, it matters on my matchup. Do I need that guy who can get me a home run? Do I think Dobbs is going to get me a home run? We've seen him do in the past, but no, I don't think so. I don't think with Reed back and them looking to run the ball as much as possible, and them making Caleb's beat him. And if Caleb Williams can beat him, then they might need Dobbs a little more. But I think with my brain and my heart that Green Bay sends a message today to the Bears, saying like, yeah, that was cute when you were the 1 seed. Being in Green Bay, I think it's going to be tough, but we'll see. So I would go Shaheed, but it would depend a lot on my matchups. Tim, I'll get to you in just a second. Texans Chief, kind of talk about it. Stroud was not as bad as the stat line said last week. He just didn't get any of their touchdowns. They had 3 rushing. One of them was Nico Collins rushing in a touchdown. Chiefs back against the wall. They have to win this one. Obviously, you're playing Rice. I'm playing against Worthy in a league that I need to win and be in, which means Worthy will probably have a good game. Continue to do what you do with Hunt. And I like Kelsey in this one. Playing at home on the night stage, Kelsey always comes up. Somebody asked for top 15 tight ends for the week, so I threw it together. And I had Kelsey pretty high on the list, probably higher than most people. I don't really look at people's top guys for the week and all that. So I don't know for sure. But I had him up pretty high, and I'm actually using him in a flex spot in one of my leagues where I haven't used him all year. I have Trey McBride, so I used him on his bye week, and that's about it. But I like him in this one. For the Texans, I like Higgins, and I like, obviously, Nico Collins. Stroud doesn't look for Schultz as much as Davis Mills did, but I think that they'll need him here. The defense for the Texans, you know me. I said it before the season even started or after week 1. I was like, they're a 5 guy for your eye. They're the best defense in the league. Well, actually, at that point, I was saying the Chargers were the best defense, but I said Houston looks really good. They went undrafted in a lot of leagues, I feel like, and they are the best. But I worry in this one because I think the Chiefs, with their back against the wall at home Sunday night, are going to do some things on offense, which is going to force the Texans to do some things as well. And I think it's going to be through the pass game because the Chiefs are a little better against the run. Woody's banged up and Chubb is old. His body's old. He's not actually old, but that injury took a toll on him. Last but not least, we'll get to these final questions. Eagles, Chargers. I'm playing the Eagles defense this week. A lot was made. Again, this is similar to the Pittsburgh, Baltimore. People talking about your offense is broken. People talking about the Eagles defense is broken. I know they don't have Jalen Carter. But listen, if you've watched any Chargers game, it's typically 65% the visitors in the stands and maybe 35% the Chargers. It's probably actually 25%, and the other 10% are just there to get caught on camera watching a football game. It's going to be loud for the Eagles. It will be like a home game. Herbert with his banged up hand. I know it's non-throwing, but in the off chance that we see Trey Lance, I think the Eagles have a really nice shot at doing something on defense. Plus, you get the Monday Night Magic. Chargers are still a good defense, but their offensive line is terrible, so I think that helps the defense as well. And the Eagles look to get Saquon back on track. A.J. Brown had his big game. Whenever A.J. Brown does good, they lose. So if you are playing A.J. Brown, I guess you got to hope that they lose. But I'm fine with all the Eagles players in this one. In the Chargers one, I mean, I'm fine with them as well because the Eagles have been giving up some stuff. Gadsden's sort of fallen off. And listen, this is the first time, I think, since we've done Answers by Guest. So the first time in probably 10 years, the Eagles are really good against the tight end. So if you're looking for Gadsden to pull through for you, I did recommend them out of a couple guys that I like worse, but you could be upset in this one. But you have two things going. You have a defense who uncharacteristically is playing really good against tight ends, and then you have a really good tight end who's been quiet for 4 or 5 weeks. So something's going to break. Let's get into these questions. All right, Tim, you're right here. Here you are. You didn't even look at the weather. You picked up McPherson. I should probably change that. I was thinking about McPherson. I was thinking about, what is it, Prater now for Buffalo. Windy, snowy. It's not ideal for a kicker. So, yeah, maybe. I probably would because I decided not to scoop him. And I was like, you know what? I got a feeling Boswell's going to kick a bunch of field goals. He hasn't kicked a bunch in weeks, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I would play Shaheed over Godwin, I think. I think that they're going to look to run the ball more often than not against the Saints. Your only good wide receiver is DK. I like DK today. Again, it's the Philly defense. It's a Pennsylvania thing. The Philly defense and the Pittsburgh offense. So much talk about those two things being broken this past week that had to be a focal point for both coaches. So that's why I sort of expect Pittsburgh to be able to do some things on offense and Philly to be able to do some things on defense. All right. No other questions. That's it. It is 12:13, a few minutes over, but that's okay. I had some things I wanted to put on wax so that if I am able to come on Tuesday night, I can say that I told you so. So hopefully you win today, and hopefully you'll be joining us for the playoff push, weeks 15, 16, and 17. Best of luck. If you have a question, please get it in the next 17 minutes or so. I'll do my best to answer it. If you're watching us on YouTube or on Twitch, thanks for joining. And my suggestion is get with the old folks, get on Facebook, join the Answers by Guests group page. And we've been growing. I haven't told Rob. I don't know if he's noticed because he's been so busy with other things. But, I mean, it wasn't too long ago this season. We were around 350, I think. And there we got over 410. So that's good to see. So good luck. I'll see you. Have a good one.